Sudbury K-8 district. This is Sara Fischer. She's a 5th grade teacher at the Loring Elementary School. Excuse me. We're going to present backchanneling and how we're using it in the classroom. And our example is an elementary example, but I have teachers using it at our middle school as well. So does anybody, do you all know what backchanneling is? Mm-hmm. Okay. And unfortunately, the site we're using, which is totally free, is blocked here today. I was going to actually have you all join in and backchannel while we were doing the presentation, but it's because it's a web chat, so some districts kind of block it that way. The backchanneling basically is, it's basically a private chat room or a room where everyone joins in. So kids had laptops, or you could use mobile devices, whatever, iPads, and are holding a conversation while something's going on in the classroom. So I was introduced first to backchanneling at a conference, and the keynote speaker was at the front, and she had a back channel going, so the people in the audience were posing questions to her, and I don't know how she multitasked and was able to give her speech and whatever, and that's not really how we're using it, but I saw real great connections for using it in the classroom. So I'm going to kind of scoop through some of these. It's actually a video. Let's hope it works. Talking about what kids think.
Well, the reason I like backchanneling is because it's easy to interact with classmates during a video clip or a book that we are learning at the time. Backchanneling is typing messages on a computer and everyone can see what you're writing.
I like backchanneling because you can post comments, you can answer other people's questions, and think about like how technology is better than just writing down on a piece of paper and holding it in.
I like backchanneling because it's kind of looking at other people's thoughts, like about a subject. I also think it's really fun.
I like backchanneling because it's better than raising your hand and waiting to be called on. You can put anything on the screen at any time when you're thinking it.
What I like about backchanneling is that it's exciting because it's on the computer, but you can talk during a lesson without interrupting anyone.
Well, I like backchanneling because it's like fun and you get to use technology in like an interesting way.
Backchanneling is a way to talk online while a lesson is going on.
Backchanneling is a way of speaking without interrupting anybody.
Some of the things we have done with backchanneling was looking for important details in the story, like adjectives or describing them. I like backchanneling because it's texting, but it's like talking without even talking.
Okay, and I'm going to scoot through some of these questions slides because I want you to hear from Sara. But basically, more educational institutions are using backchanneling. It's a way, again, I think the kids summed it up very well, and she asked them to give their feedback, and they all came up with a unique perspective on what they thought was powerful. But we're using it while you're showing a video, like if you subscribe to DE Streaming, have kids backchanneling while they're watching the video, or listening to you, or even just while they're doing a project. It's a common place for kids to post their thoughts. And of course, it satisfies all the 21st century skills that we're supposed to be teaching that deal with, online collaborating and social networking, etc. It gives them an opportunity to record their voices without having, as the student said, waiting to be called on. You can hear from all the kids as a teacher. And kids are feeding off of each other's comments, which is really powerful. And then some of the other key points to focus on when you're doing a back channel is sometimes you can use it to activate prior knowledge, and that's how Sara used it with one of her projects. Summarizing information. We had kids pulling out essential questions themselves. So I was going to have you all join in, but we're going to skip that for now. But basically, we're using todaysmeet.com. It is dirt simple. You go to the site, you type in the name of the room you want, you get to determine how long you want that chat room to be up at any point in time. If I were a middle school teacher, I'd probably just have it up for the 2 hours because you don't want kids going there after hours. Sara has left hers up for up to a year. You can leave it up. So it's your choice. So this is kind of what a Today's Meet. I just took some quick screenshots. You go there, you create your room. You could Twitter it as well if you wanted to. and then the chat comes up on the side. We don't typically have the chat showing as they're doing a book read or watching the movie, but you could do that because we found that was a little distracting. So Sarah's going to talk about how she's used it in a particular unit.
Well, I had read an article about 5 years ago about this and wanted to do it, and so finally we're getting to it. And we have laptops in our classrooms, so we have a laptop card that the grade level shares, and it's housed in my room, so I'm kind of lucky because they're right at our fingertips. But I had the kids do a research project at the end of the year for the American Revolution. But to learn the process and the steps of a research project, we end up doing a group project together. And the system that we use is called IIM. Has them start off with an immersion activity, where basically you just throw all the information about the subject area at them to sort of get them excited and thinking about what they're going to be looking for. So this was for Roanoke, Jamestown, and Plymouth, and I found a really nice movie that talked about the 3 settlements. It went on to talk about the 13 colonies. I'm just mentioning it because it'll come back, but I stopped it about halfway through, and this was the first time that I had ever tried backchanneling, and we talked about what it was, and we laid down some parameters in terms of the rules of what we were looking for. Now, these kids are on the laptops a lot. They have wiki pages, and they do a lot of, talking back and forth. So they're pretty good with not getting silly on it, but I thought that could be a possibility, and it was a little bit in the beginning. But basically, we got the laptops, we got the movie going. I did not have the streaming behind them. It was just the movie. And these are some of the things that came out of it. I mean, there were a few like, yeah, I agree with Parks kind of thing. But then they started to realize that, well, you don't know who you're directing your message to. So they got better at that as we went along. So basically from here, I was hoping to draw out our essential questions for our research project. I knew what they were going to be, but I wanted to see if the kids would start to pick up on it. So from that point, we went into that next process of the research process for goals. And we came up with those essential questions based upon their questions. And then from there, we went on with our research project.
I just think some of these comments are unbelievable, because when you think about it, these kids are watching this movie for the first time, and they're sitting with a laptop, and they're also processing the information and chatting and posting their thoughts. I mean, why Jamestown? I mean, that's a huge, big question. But the questions are now coming from the kids and not just being told to by the teachers.
And I think I did stop the movie at one point so that they could look at a map, because their heads were down, and one teacher said, they're not really looking up, but they were multitasking, they were listening, they knew what was going on. So, those are the little things we still have to work out. But basically, we did our research, and then we went back to see if we answered all our questions. And we started our project, which is an iMovie project. But last week I was thinking, it was after MCAS, and I thought, I wonder if we watched that movie again, would they have a better sense of what was going on? See what they've learned. So that's exactly what we did. So we'll make sure that that site is available. It's still up. So you'll see a January thread, and then you'll see a March. And so as they were working on it, I knew what the movie was. They'd already seen the movie. And I sat with the class list, and I basically checked off when kids put a comment in. And if I noticed they made a connection, or they were inferring or synthesizing, I just made a little remark on the side so I could keep track. But then that movie continued into the 13 colonies, which we are currently finishing up. So they could see that connection to the next step in terms of how were the 13 colonies formed. And I just thought I was blown away. I emailed Donna and I said, you've got to look at this. Because they're getting it. They're getting the information. They're starting to understand the connections with history. And they're asking really great questions. How does it connect to my life? So that was one way. We used it. I used it with the Read Aloud Van Gogh's Cafe. We're getting to fantasy and descriptions. So they asked, I didn't even have that planned. They said, can we back channel? Well, we had the laptops. I set up a quick chat room. And so as I read the book, they picked out phrases of imagery, vocabulary words, adjectives was another focus we were working on.